was at the university in India, a young boy, a male boy, was sodomized and raped by the janitors. I reported the matter to the authorities. I took this boy to the police and to the university officials. No one, not one person, stepped forward to take an action. Something that was very straightforward, something that was within their powers to take actions on. In fact, the authorities and the fellow students threatened me with grave consequences if I pursued the matter further. Now, this is what confuses me even now. I understand it intellectually, but emotionally I don't get it. It confuses me and frustrates me no end that in a situation I just described, where even if I were corrupt, I would actually find a soul-enriching experience by booking a culprit properly, because I knew I wouldn't be getting bribes, and I knew that there wouldn't be any connections involved. India operates on two fuels, corruption and connection. Why did they not book that case? Indian authorities would do absolutely nothing, not even lift a finger, unless there's a material reward, money or sex involved. Their apathy is a bottomless pit. Now, here is the problem. Doing your job in that culture is seen as effeminate by those in authority. Doing your job means that you are a weak-minded person. You are not macho. If you can shirk from your responsibilities, you are considered a macho. In that culture, there's no pride or honor in doing what is right. There's no concept of pride and honor in that society. But it goes a bit further, quite a bit further. If you call a plumber for repairs, he comes, he will see it beneath him to leave without creating a mess. He will deliberately do a shoddy job, even if it would not have taken him more time to do a better job. Why does this happen? A complex web of arrogance, egotism, servility, casteism, tribalism, sexism, rigid do's and don'ts, dogmas, and magical thinking drives what they do, leaving them emotionally constipated and incapable of making a rational or moral decision. Fairness. Now, these are all European concepts. You think that these are parts of firmament. They aren't. The concepts like fairness, justice, trust, empathy, and impartiality are completely alien concepts to the Indian mind. They cannot differentiate between right and wrong. They simply can't differentiate between what is right and wrong. They do not have the concepts, the Western value concepts that you think are a part of the natural existence. They aren't. Indians are indifferent even when there is no cost involved in doing the right thing, in delivering fairness or justice. I would go as far as by saying that if they could deliver fairness and justice without any personal cost, they would still prefer not to do it, because they see doing the right thing as a sign of weakness. I guess anyone who has been to India on a budget of less than $50 a day would recognize what I'm saying here. If you spend $500 a day, you will never understand India. We were, as growing up, indoctrinated to be submissive. The indoctrination is so profound that Indians address even those slightly above them in authority as sir. Their behavior tends to be servile, sycophantic, and ingratiating. And they call you sir even after they have moved through the Western countries for years, because that's how deep the hard wiring of submissiveness among Indians. But this, you should never ever take their calling you as sir as a sign of respect, because respect is another concept that is alien to Indians. When they call you sir, it reflects their view of you as a stronger person in the interaction, consistent with their mindset of might is right. They will demean you the moment you are in a weaker position. In this system, in the system of India, you are either higher or lower in the pecking order. You're either an abuser or the abused. Achieving equality is impossible in that society. Once a person has started living in that country for a while, he soon realizes from experience that saying please and thank you are signs of weaknesses and reserved for those who wish to demean themselves. Indians cannot maintain the institutions established by the British. These institutions have been completely hollowed out and corrupted. They have become predatory. The constitutions and laws hold no value in that country. The only forces driving these institutions are bribes and connections. You go in front of a judge and you bribe policemen and the bureaucrats in the court right in front of the judge. That's how openly bribe is conducted in that country. The higher you go, the only thing that changes is the quantum of bribes. If you go to the court, the level of bribe changes. That's the only thing that matters in that country. Street smarts, culturally, street smartness is highly valued in that country. Criminals who manage to evade justice are socially celebrated. People will, in social settings, praise those people who were criminal and evaded justice. A close relative of mine, brimming with pride, once told me that he would never pay the rent for the house he had rented. He declared that his dead body would leave the property. And that's what actually happened. Rationality is absent in that country. When someone is cheated and trust is nowhere in that country, he rarely seeks justice against the cheater. Rarely. Instead, he rationalizes his cheating of others. Men abuse women, women abuse children, women are innocent in that country, women abuse children, children abuse animals. Animals attack whosoever they can. Higher caste individuals abuse lower caste individuals. But then it's not a linear one-way higher caste to lower caste issue either. Because lower caste people fight like hyenas to determine which of those lower caste groups is higher than the other lower caste group. It is a perpetual cycle of irrationality and arbitrariness. People lie openly. Everyone knows everyone lies, but everyone lies anyway. Most people feel no cognitive dissonance because they cannot distinguish between truth and falsehood. And I'm going to come to it in a bit, explaining that the meaning of truth was a revelation to me when I moved to the United Kingdom. They convince themselves of their lies so much that they can no longer differentiate between myth and reality, fact and fiction. Now, I know this sounds dystopian, and some people who have never been to India are probably shaking their heads thinking this couldn't be true. But I cannot imagine what about India that is not dystopian. George Orwell was actually born in India, by the way. Conversations in that country are driven solely for personal gain, with a steadfast belief in a zero-sum game, or actually they prefer a win-lose game. If you don't lose in a transaction, they don't feel good about it. There is this strong element of sadism in the culture. Those who are closest to you will turn out to be your biggest enemies. Everyone in that country built solid, strong, high fences around his property. That is the first thing you do when you buy a property. Fully aware that his neighbors would encroach on his land if given a chance. You sleep without a fence on your property, and next day morning, your land would have been encroached on, and you can do nothing about it. Over the last 33 years since I first left India, I have traveled to almost 100 countries, and to many of them repeatedly. This, in my view, has given me a perspective on societies. India, which is what I'm here to talk about today, is the grandfather of the third world. The third world has 2 out of 3 human beings on the planet. 800 million people in India, which is equivalent to the combined population of North America and 27 nations of European Union, rely on free grains from the government. 1/3 of Indian children below the age of 5 are stunted. And that's an exaggerated figure in the sense that the number is actually much higher. I have never met one Indian who is not constantly plagued by concerns stemming from lack of trust. He cannot trust his family, he cannot trust his friends, he cannot trust the institutions. India is a veritable hellhole. I will explain how Indian culture has become cancerous, warping and perverting everything that the West has provided it. This has significant implications for the West because immigrants keep pouring in. I will, in my talk, outline the structure or lack thereof that renders life in India a constant drudgery filled with moment-to-moment exploitation and abuses. As a child, my experiences was one where might is right underpinned everything, absolutely everything. Animalistic instincts subliminally were hardwired into us. Power was invariably abused, with those in control thinking that they had the God-given right to exploit, dominate, and dehumanize others. The display of authority was so extreme that any questioning, even you asked your teacher a simple question, or expecting those in authority to perform their duties, led to immediate retribution. Those in authorities, those days and even more today, and that's what I'm going to come to later, how India is worsening with time, they believed that their positions were not for serving others. That's invariably the case. No government person or person in authority, even in private sector, thinks that he's there to serve other people, to provide a service. He thinks he's in that position for personal gain, whether through bribery, which is omnipresent in that country and shamelessly asked for, sadism, which is a perversion of human character, and pursuit of reverence. They want you to prostrate in front of them, the authorities in the country. The only person who shows respect in India is the one, and was the one, who accepts a lower, subservient position in life, in the hierarchy. I'm 56 years old, I have never witnessed a situation in India where someone in authority took the initiative to address a problem he was responsible for.